Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. This week, we'll talk about Canadian millennials and home ownership. Stick with us until the end. You don't want to miss this. Chris, young people face challenges in affordable home ownership as Canadian home prices have surged significantly over the past decade, with a 6.3% average annual increase from 2014 to 2024. Despite a recent 3.3% decline in home prices over the last year, buying a home remains expensive, leading many to consider renting as a viable alternative. Renting is generally more affordable than paying a mortgage, but renters often miss out on the forced savings to help homeowners build equity. My first question, Chris, is do you believe that the young buyers, the millennials and Gen Z also, should they wait a year or two, see what's going on with the market, or go and rent in the same time, or immediately go into the real estate market early next year, let's say?
Yeah, fair. That's a tough question.
Yeah, I know.
A little bit of a crystal ball there. And it probably really depends on, yeah, let's on the wall, see what shake it up, right? See what the
Bring your
snowfall's.
tinfoil hat.
Yeah, exactly. Man, to have that crystal ball, I'll tell you, I would have made some pretty massive changes in the way I had done things in the past if I'd had that crystal ball. And I will say this, every time it has been not buying worked against me in a very large manner. Manner. Having said that, I think it's still really, it's a little bit time dependent, and it is very much location dependent. If you're in Vancouver or Toronto, yeah, I'd be leery. I'd be leery to purchase right now. You know, I think there's going to be a lot of changes that are happening in those markets. If you're most anywhere else, though, Calgary, Montreal, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Saskatoon, Regina, any of the kind of more major centers in our country that aren't the major centers.
Yeah,
I'd say do what you can to get in and buy, but do it smartly. Forget about this. My first home is the end all be all home. Just buy smart, use it as your catapult to get up, and just kind of build from there. And shoot, you know what? If your first home, and I know a few people that are doing this, if your first home is a rental property that you're not even living in, you're probably going to fare really well over the long term. Maybe you're not quite so adamant that it's got marble countertops and vaulted ceilings and everything else, that I didn't have until I was much later in life. So long answer to a short question. Yeah, very dependent on where you are. Toronto and Vancouver, though, I think are going to hold some very interesting situations coming up in the next year or two, particularly depending on where interest rates come in and what these mortgage renewals look like in those two very crazy cities of ours.
Yeah, exactly. I was looking at this article when I started my research, and this got my attention. So according to CREA, right, the price has climbed from 399,000, so 400,000 in September. just to put in perspective, not only the percentage of increase, okay, to $713,200 in September of this year. So like we said, it's a 6.3% increase. And the focus of the article is that we can also create wealth not only by buying homes, but also by investing. either, like you said, which I believe is one of the most important things to do, it's to buy a rental property, a plex, duplex, triplex, fourplex, before buying your own, at least one before buying your
Mhm.
own. But they also talk about the real estate, the stock market. Okay, and uh, the stock market is a very good option if we have education, either from our parents or from someone, and especially at an early age. Um, and because when you rent, you can save, let's say, $500, $1,000 on a monthly basis. Especially if we compare with a, let's say, $500,000 home and a $1,800 rental, 2 bedrooms, regular bed, 2 bedrooms. So with that money saved, we can learn how to um, invest in the stock market, and we can create the same wealth as we do in a real estate when we buy our own home, like a residential principal home, right?
Mhm.
And that's the point of today's podcast. And I want to pinpoint my the most important key points that I found is that, of course, rent is often cheaper than mortgage payments, which create potential to invest the saved funds. One of the advantages of being an owner of real estate is that you have forced savings, which means like you paying $1,000 more, but that if you keep on paying the mortgage amount over 25 years, you will have a home worth maybe, I don't know, 600, 700, 800, $1 million, right? As an equity. And with that,
Yeah.
that I would like to know if in your the clients or colleagues or friends, do you have people that think like that? Like, I want to rent. I don't. I know the Canadian and the American dream, it's a home and a car and everything. But do you have people that talk about renting and investing instead of buying in the first place?
Yeah. Well, and I think what you're talking about there really is opportunity costs. You got a buck. What do you do with that buck? Where are you best off to spend that buck to make a buck back, or a buck 10 back, or 10 cents back, or 50
Yeah.
bucks back? Who knows where it is. And I think real estate's always been one of the safest investments
Yeah.
because it tends to go up over time. I mean, if you pull up that article that you just showed with the CREA increases, um, pick that in two scenarios. Did you rent that home or did you buy that home?
Exactly.
You know
It's
that
true.
that
It's true.
yeah. So if you rented that $399,000 home in 2014 and you were still there today, 10 years later, your rent is not the same.
It's true.
But if you bought it, your mortgage payment, take out these crazy interest rate hikes and everything else, your mortgage payment's going to be roughly the same. Now, with these mortgage rate hikes, that's definitely a bit of a different scenario. But yeah, I mean, in the short term, if you're moving to a city and you're going to be here for a year, rent. If you're moving to the city and you're going to be here for 10 years plus, buy smartly. Buy smartly. And maybe get a tenant or a roommate, and then take that money that you're getting from the roommate and invest that into your stocks. I don't think the owning is the end all be all by any means, and I think there's a lot of people who can do very well by being in rental situations and taking that money that you'd be saving over the short term and perhaps leveraging that to make some really good money. But I do think that's a little bit of Vegas as well. If you're doing it in crypto, who knows?
Exactly.
Yeah, I just met a guy who's He was a crypto trader, and that's how he bought his house. And I've talked to multiple people that have actually done that. Does it happen to everybody? No. And the few that it does happen to, those are the ones you hear, and so that's why everybody jumps in, which creates your saturation in the market. So who knows at the end of the day where that ends up being. But I think your investment advice is the exact same as my advice to a buyer would be. Just do it smartly. And if you're looking for a quick buck, a fast mega turnaround, you might get it once or twice, but you're probably going to suffer in the long term. Real estate, much like most stocks, is a long-term gain. It's a long-term hold. If you're flipping all over the place, it's pretty dodgy and pretty risky. And you would, you'd be able to speak to that much greater than I. But I mean, what are your thoughts on bouncing in and out of stocks, much the way that many investors would bounce out on pre-construction purchases and assignment sales, and how does that work on your side?
It's so for me, when I bought a condo when I was very young, and then a triplex. That's in 2002, I believe. And then I bought a bungalow with a bachelor. And I remember I was renting the bachelor, had a different address, but also I had 3 bedrooms, and I rented the 2 bedrooms to my friends. I wanted to make sure I'm not going to be under, So I remember that for about a year, I had roommates in my home. So and see, for other working young adults who live with their parents and pay little to no rent, it makes sense for them to start investing early and benefit from compound rates of return. And that's my my answer to your question. And also the title of the article: How Canadian millennials can get the financial revenge. And I believe one of the solutions is stay home and invest everything smartly.
Yeah.
If you got a stock market education, you can do that. If not, you go with the GIC, like 3, 4, 5%, or SPX if you a little bit feeling risky, but not too much. So those are the 2 advices on the stock. And on the real estate side, buy multifamily. So start with it's better with triplex or quadruplex. That's it. And then you do that for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, the most you can. Because if you start at 20, 22, finish college, finish university probably, and the prices are so high right now, rent and ownership. So you can have a deal with your parents, stay there for 5 to 7 years, invest smartly everything, buy investment property, and then at 28, 29, 30 years old, then you'll have money for a brand new home and start of your family life. I don't know. Depends of the goals of the people. But that's what I would do. I would stay home and invest in stock and real estate market first.
Can we flip that for a second?
Yeah.
So that's your advice to the young, the millennials of the world that are getting going, that are frustrated as hell with the price of homes. And 100% fair enough. Back when I was born, it was running around 2 to 3 times the income was the average price of a house. Now it's like anywhere from 2 in a really down market to 11 times your house. And that's not doable. Vancouver, Toronto, not doable. But flip that for a second to your stay at home, live at home with your parents and invest that money. Parents. I'm not a parent, so I shouldn't be doing this, but parents, your kids are staying at home, make them pay you rent. That
Of course.
forced savings from the houses that you were talking about, take it from them, take a portion and put it into your costs. And at the very best, take a very large portion of that and make that into their forced
Yeah.
savings. So that,
Yeah.
they're getting in the habit, and
Yeah,
they're not
exactly. You're
driving
so
bloody
right.
Mercedes Benz. Yeah. How many kids do you see driving BMWs and living at home?
It's true. It's true. And that takes money off your pocket and maintenance and
Yeah.
all that.
And it's great
It's
at the
so bad.
time.
But it's
Yeah.
and you know, like it seems like rent to own. You know, there was like a very, very new a while ago, but you know, now everyone knows it's rent to own. So I did it once. In my contract, the person was putting 30% of my rent towards the down payment. But parents can do 50, like you said, or 60, 70. You know, if the person pays $1,000 in rent for internet, heat, and food, it's pretty good deal for 1,000. And also that will probably make them not rent the $1,400 a month BMW with that comes with a $550 a month insurance.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Seriously.
so instead of spending $2,000 on your car, you can spend $1,000 in rent and get back 500 of those every month, probably in 3 years or 5 years, and then you have a down payment. It's a very good point, Chris.
Well, and you know what? It's a win-win situation because you might actually be able to get rid of your kids at some point in your life, so that they're not living in your home when you're a senior citizen still. You know, but I mean, there's got to be something where, you know, everybody's kind of on the same page of getting together and making it doable and possible. Because honestly, I don't know how anyone can truly get ahead in life if they don't own and start to own early and just kind of keep moving up, because you just lose so much over the long term with the rental prices.
Oh,
And let's call a spade. Not too many people are very savvy investors in investing back in. I know I took a heck of an interest in it when I was in my 20s. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. Not a clue.
Yeah.
But that's
and yeah, but that's the case of most people, you know. I just want to show you something that I found, and we'll change the subject after that. See, so Statistics Canada 2023 survey financial security revealed the median net worth of younger family, where the highest income earner was under 35. So, you know, the people that we talk about right now, who owned their principal residence, swelled by 142,000 from 2019 and hit 457,000 in 2023. In comparison, the median net worth of younger families who did not own their principal residence increased by just 26,000 to 44,000. So it's literally 10 times higher.
Mm-hmm.
So you understand? And that's a big deal. What I just did here.
That's
you understand?
Huge.
So
that's the same future and a not future.
Exactly. It's the same period, the same people. They rented. They have 44,000 as a net wealth, and the ones that bought, they have 457,000. 10 times more if you buy.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And now to continue on this direction, the homeowners skipping meals to make monthly payments survey finds. So over 20% delayed or skipped medical treatments to afford housing payments. And I would like to know, Chris, if you believe that the trend of this high prices will continue after the change in government will happen here in the United States and in Canada.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? History repeats itself, in my humble opinion. But history has shown. So back in the day when I was a young man with dark hair, I was one of those guys skipping meals. But I owned my own home until I couldn't afford it anymore. And I had to sell, and it took me forever to get back into it. But when I did get back into it, I saw those gains again. And it was too late the first time. And then it was most definitely too late the second time. And the people that are facing it right now that it's too late, they missed the mark. Guess what? 10 years from now, you're probably going to be saying, I should have bought back then. Now I missed the mark. Because I mean, we're increasing and we're increasing, we're increasing. And then once again, there's that two markets here that really, it's increased and it's increased and it's increased. So, how do you argue that it's not going to keep increasing? But on the world market, Toronto and Vancouver look like they're at real risk of a bubble. So if you're living there, you gotta live where you work and live where you live. That makes it a little bit tougher. But otherwise, do what you can to get in, get a couple of roommates. No, seriously, it's not that bad. You're probably going to have a couple of roommates renting anyway. Or a roommate. You might as well own the place that the other guys are renting from you with. That's the smart way to do it. Or go in with a friend and buy. You gotta be a little more careful on that. You gotta have everything well played out. But still at least you're getting into it. Those numbers really reflect a radical truth. And that radical truth has been consistent through decades. If you own your own home, the prices in general increase. But even if it stays the same, exactly the same, you're still going to be ahead. As long as you're not flipping in a year. Yeah,
it's true. It's true. It's a very good point, Chris, with, making a few sacrifices for a few months, few years, and then live respectably for the rest of your life. It's a very good point.
I really wish I had done what you did. Buy a duplex, buy a triplex, buy a fourplex.
My first condo, like I told you, so it's a very small condo, is because it's probably in my DNA. I wanted to buy. The triplex was because I read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah. Smart man.
And the bungalow with the bachelor was the year after for the same reason. Okay. So, and after that, I started to flip promise to purchase, the legal document. I was making deals and then sell them for $5,000 or $10,000. So I got in that mindset early, and then I got my real estate license, and I've, continued. But because of my first buy, I believe that gave me the confidence that I need to continue. And that's what I said. You have a very good point. Just buy something, make a few sacrifices at the beginning.
Yeah.
But after that, you'll get equity, wealth, and also confidence. And it's always better with a little bit of more confidence, Mm-hmm. Life is better with a little bit more confidence. So if the owners keep the meals, I was looking to see what will happen, especially here in Canada. And this is BNN Bloomberg, which is in Canada. So mortgage brokers expect more competition as buyers re-enter the housing market. And that's again something contradictory, and I know your wife is a mortgage broker. So I would like to know what is going on. What can you say about this?
Yeah, well, and I think a lot of that is just pent up demand. Like, why would I go out and rush into a market, particularly it's been crazy over the last little bit, where we've seen all these big increases.
Yeah.
To sign on an interest rate of this when it's going to be lowering to this. within the next 6 months. That does make absolute sense to hold off a little bit,
Of course.
wait until, or at the very least, not rush into anything, which is always a good strategy. If you find the right one, buy now, but make your plans so that you can capitalize on lowering interest rates later on. Don't sign on for 5 years, but know that it may not happen as well. And who knows where this next one's going to go? Our forecast from even as recent as the last podcast here may be up in the air a little bit there as well. I do think we are going to see more and more buyers entering the marketplace over the next little bit here because rates are finally coming down. It's going to make it possible for some to get in that may not have been able to because they were just priced out because of, and some that are waiting in the sidelines. But I think we're going to see blips. It's going to come up for a bit. It's going to slow down for a bit. It's going to come up for a bit. It's going to slow down for a bit. Particularly with these bigger increases, these 0.5% changes. That's when a lot of people just got to hit the market. It doesn't necessarily make an actual difference in the interest rates they're picking. It's more variable than fixed, but they still come into the market because eventually people get tired of waiting. That's my thought.
Yeah, that's a good point. Again, it's true. There is a I would say a waiting fatigue. I realized that when I was a broker, even if it was not a big pressure on the buyers that time, years ago, but after a while, if a person calls me in fall, I would feel that person different in the spring and summer if they didn't bought anything. If you stay into it, I believe it creates a sense of urgency at one point. And also by staying in the game, you get to know the market. You are more confident in the prices and especially you'll also realize what do you want to buy and where.
Yeah. And I think that's fairly important too, because I don't think enough people, particularly on their first purchases, really put enough thought into that. And there's not enough people that are doing real estate as an investment, not as an investment, as a get rich quick scheme that put proper thought into that. I saw quite recently, I won't say the condo name, but there's a set of condos in downtown Toronto, little over 260 square feet for $470,000 master base. And that is the builder size, by the way. So take out the walls that you'd see in a comparative residential resale. So like that is the size of a single car garage.
Wow. I had a balcony once, which was 18 by 12 or something like that. Almost 200 something square feet. Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
Yeah.
See,
it's interesting. But who's buying things like this?
The investors.
Yeah. No one that would live in it themselves, but are just banking on, ironically, cheap prices, so that they can do flips, hold them for a bit. It's crazy that I'm saying cheap prices at $470,000 for 270 square feet, but we are. That's where we're at right now in those markets.
It's true. And see, a few days ago, so Reuters announced that Canadian housing starts rise 8% in October. We already did the Alberta starts as a local market, but I just want to show this that this will help maybe, so we're going in the same direction. Will the rate cuts help here? Some mortgage brokers believe yes. Will the housing starts help by being a little bit more of supply? Maybe. Will the immigration cut help? Maybe. So there's a lot of maybes. And one of the maybes is the inflation rate. And as you probably know, a few days ago was announced that the inflation rate is 2% now. And it was 1.6% last month, year over year. Okay.
Mhm.
And what's weird, we can say that, is the gas
Yeah.
dropped the prices,
Oh.
and also the housing prices dropped. We had a 3.3 decline. We talked about this. Rents here in Edmonton are about $100 to $150 less a month. If we look on Zillow and we see the price history, it's there. It's 100, 125, 150, sometimes $200 less. So that the prices dropped a little bit, rents dropped a little bit. That's housing, which takes a lot of place in the final inflation rate.
Yeah.
The gas dropped. So what continued to grow, soar, are food, clothes, and services. And that's what I said, that it's a pretty bad news, because that's the most important, other than, I understand, gas and housing. So what do you think, Chris? Why is that? Why the we're supposed to have a good inflation rate, now it's up, and it's up in the wrong categories,
Yeah.
in other words.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Fair enough. Well, I mean, thank God it's down in the housing and oil and gas.
Yes.
But having said that, that's down from being up.
Yeah.
So
It's down from being up. I love it.
yeah, take it over the trends. Take it over the trends for sure. I think it's definitely moves in the right direction. And little hovering around that 2% mark is not a bad thing. I mean, certain amount of inflation we're going to have every year. That's a good mark, but it's definitely going to be better if it's under that 2% for the next while. And I think if we do expect that 0.5% decrease to come up, that's probably off the table now.
That's my point. I don't think so.
It's probably going to be at 0.25%.
0.25. If they do it, it will be 0.25. That's my opinion. That I would bet on it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like, I don't know, 0. I don't know, 0.25. I don't know, but definitely not 0.5.
Yeah,
no, definitely not 0.5, because 0.5 it's a big drop in the market's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And it will be considered also panic. Don't forget that. You understand? Because the market rewards or punish things, and it's not necessarily what we believe. But one thing is that if the market sees you panicking, then it will even like downgrade even more.
Yeah. Well, and anything sizable, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's true.
Elicits that sort of response for sure. I mean, it definitely did on our market when we did that first 0.5% drop.
Yeah.
We were, even here in Calgary, which has been like, the godchild of all Canada here over the last little bit. We dropped substantially. There was a lot of people, like, realtors were putting on the Facebook posts all over the place. What the heck happened to our market? Where the heck did all the buyers go? Other ones weren't. They were still bragging up a storm, but it dropped pretty substantially. And then big, nice, healthy uptick from the people that were waiting on the sidelines, who honestly may have even come back into the market if there was an increase in the interest rates, because they were just waiting for something to happen. I think, though, over the long haul, if we keep seeing inflation rate increasing in areas that are necessities, we are going to see a tougher time over the longer haul here. And I think we're bound to see increasing inflation rates creeping back up again.
Yeah, it's true. That's what I believe as well.
The government is making some changes, which is nice to see. The GST.
Yeah.
being removed on some things. That's I think it's being announced here in a couple of days.
Curb inflation, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but is it going to be enough?
No,
And how long
no,
is it
it's
going
too
to
late. You'll see. I believe that we're in for tough times.
Yeah, I think
2025. My point. It's we're in for tough times. We have to hang on. 2025, 2026, getting out of it. Average, maybe bad, a little bit bad. Average, getting out of it. 2026, but 2025 we're going to be hit strongly.
Nice.
And like we talked, almost 1 million people will renew. 1 million mortgages. I don't know how many people have that mortgages, but almost 1 million mortgages has to renew in 2025. And those people bought from 2020 to 2022, and they have to renew. So those are the people that had like 1.2, 1.5. And you don't know if the price will go up or down. So that's why the experts are saying a lot of people probably will renew at 3 years fixed, or 5 years, or 4 years fixed. Because of the uncertainty. So that will bring them to 4.5 at the best right now. Let's say 4.25 instead of 1.52. That would be a big hit, Chris. What do you think?
Yeah. So the housing affordability, if you look at the index, we haven't been this high on the index since like the 80s or 90s, when interest rates were beyond belief.
Yeah.
There's a significant portion of people's incomes already that is going to your mortgage payments, and potentially therefore as well your rental payments, although not quite as much. But I think in Calgary here we're somewhere around the 44%. It should be around 25%. 25% of your monthly income should go to your mortgage payment if you're kind of right in balanced in that price. So we're running about 45% now. Toronto, Vancouver's running like 75%, high 70s.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's a chunk of change. That's a chunk of change. You better have some roommates.
And you remember when they did like it was 36% of net and 44% of the amount before taxes or something. I don't remember the calculus for qualifying. So let's say a round number, 42%, right?
Yeah.
And that was like 5, 6, 7 years ago. It was not like 50 years ago.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And they had to
I can't
increase
believe
those
it,
ratios. They had to increase those
believe it.
ratios because people were just priced right out of being able to do anything just
Yeah.
based on their debt levels, even just on the house itself that you're going into. It's been difficult and it's been tough. But there's good debt and there's bad debt. I do still think that the mortgage debt overall is a good debt, even at the higher percentages. What's going to be interesting is the credit card debt and the car loans and everything else.
Yeah,
that people
we will do a subject about that because is a whole another animal
for sure.
Yeah.
It definitely
so see,
is. But until you can get some of that stuff under control, everything else is going to be up here. I think it's important to note that inflation isn't just prices. It's also the prices that you pay to have somebody else pay for it, like the credit cards, like the car loans and everything else.
It's true. Yeah. So the CBC inflation ticked up 2% in October after previously month's steep drop in gas prices. See, that was my point. It was a steep drop in gas prices, and the inflation went up. And grocery inflation rose at faster pace last month compared to the same time a year before. Okay, so this is the article. We see it's a downward trend. It's true, but this can be considered a reversal, stop and reversal, which can be. If I read this graphic, I would have to wait the other announcement to make a decision or prediction. But if the other is close to 2.5, then I can predict that the inflation rate can go up to 3.4. The next resistance. Okay, so if it's between 2.2 and 2.5 here in November, let's say, and it closes at that, let's say 2.5, then it can go up to 3.4, and that's a bad news. So I'm pretty good, but I'm still at the beginning stages of my career, in the stock market. The people that see this will understand it even faster. Okay, it's not good news if the inflation rate will be at 2.5. That's my point. Point. Okay.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. I think it's going to be unavoidable.
Me too. Okay, I don't want to say it, but yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's hope it's not like that. Let's hope it's 1.7 next month. Yeah. Let's hope that.
Yeah.
Because if it's 2.5, I'm telling you, it's not a good. Plus, you understand, we talked about the renewal of mortgages. It's not a good year next year if this continues.
Well, and I think really the big one, and we don't touch on this very much, but like you said multiple times here, is the grocery costs. Like, it is insane to go to the grocery store now. Like it is. It's insane.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Buy a steak, it's $50. Like, come on.
You understand? Really? I told you I saw a steak $85 like a few months ago in Quebec. Seriously? Omaha. And it was all over Facebook. So people, if they listen from Quebec, they know it.
Yeah.
It's like for a few days was trending. It's $85. It was a big chunk, but still,
it better be a big chunk for that price. Yeah. Yeah. I wonder what's going to be happening with the oil and gas prices, though, over the next little bit. And that really does affect a lot of things, including very much groceries. I mean, you got to get groceries to market, right? So it's got to be trucked in somehow.
Yeah.
And I had an interesting conversation with somebody over the last little bit, because we're talking about oil and gas prices and just, what that would do for us in our economy. And he brought up the last time that Trump was in and what OPEC did as a battling against, Trump's world domination through oil. Dang, kind of forgot about OPEC. So yeah, we might see a bit of retaliation from or against the U.S. from that on the world market with OPEC decreasing prices, and then
exactly.
What effect is that?
And then the states will buy again oil for $10 to replenish their national supply. I don't know, emergency supply.
Stockpile it up a bit.
Stockpile it somewhere. Yeah. But also, I believe. I believe Alberta will be very good for the next 4 years. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I think so too. I think we're going to be.
Very
we've had this little thing where
it's the place to be in Canada, in other words, for the next 4 years, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but Calgary, at least for the last few decades, has always been this little island. Things are like crazy elsewhere, we're stable. If things are dropping like crazy elsewhere, then we're kind of going through the roof. And I think it's going to be tough for a lot of the rest of Canada. Productivity, manufacturing, and it's then true. We'll be this little
Ontario has manufacturing. Okay, Ontario has manufacturing.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's nothing else.
Yeah.
Saskatchewan has agriculture. Alberta agriculture a little bit,
and oil,
and ranch, but mainly oil and gas and coal and rare earth minerals, and BC has the hydro. It has also, a little bit of natural resources, but mostly it's finances, a lot of buildings and banks. And so that's my point. Other than Alberta, Saskatchewan, a little bit BC, and a little bit Ontario, I believe this in 2025 will be a woof. an average year for people. And let's hope this is not true.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
see where it goes.
Exactly.
I would be a
Exactly.
little afraid to be in a production and manufacturing industry with this next 4 years coming up.
Yeah. And also in what type of manufacturing industry? Okay.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Because
fair.
if you're in steel and I believe the trades and commodities will be still good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I don't think we can put the blanket on there. You're in manufacturing in Canada, you export to the US, you're screwed because the tariffs are going to come in a massive amount. But I do think, like you just were insinuating, certain sectors which have been shown in the past to get hit are likely going to get hit again.
Yeah, that's what it is. And as we just want to show you, so on November 19, the announcement of the inflation was in, and after that, so you see the dollar, Canadian dollar, strengthened. See, after the announcement. Why? Well, there's a few explanations, but the most common one is that the investors realize that with a higher inflation rate, the risk of more than 0.25 points of rate cut, it's highly unlikely.
Right.
Because of that, like we talked about, as soon as we inflate, we lose money, the strength. So you bring it down the rates, you inflate, you lose the value in the dollar. Because instead of 0.5, let's just extrapolate, it will only be 0.25. That means the Canadian dollar will be stronger.
Yep.
Okay, so we see it here in the graphic. It's very simple. Sometimes it's not like this because you don't know the future. But most of the time, those type of news will have this effect.
No. Well, there are a lot of variables to it, right? But like you said, that one of the main ones is, where are people investing? Does it make sense to keep it here? Does it make sense to invest over there? Does it make sense for them to invest here? Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of talk. I don't quite buy into it. There's been a lot of talk back on the real estate sector of how many Americans will be buying properties here or second properties here.
I just sent an email to the Canadian brokers with that subject.
Right.
Yeah.
So what was your thought on it? You think it's going to be going up?
So today I sent that, and because I'll read it, and a lot of people answered. See, so I said that there's a lot of also Canadians that live in the US that want to come back. Let's not forget that the act of I believe it was last year. Let me see here. I want to make sure. Okay, so I have it here. The CMHC. It's called the Prohibition on the Purchase of Residential Property by Non-Canadians Act. Okay, and that you can buy until January 1st, 2027. I understand that, but the act doesn't prohibit the purchase of larger buildings with 4 or more dwelling units. Okay, so a non-Canadian can buy a 4-plex or an 8-plex. Okay, and in my opinion, if people that want to change country, most of the time they have a little bit of money. Okay, especially from the US to the Canada side. I'm not talking about people that don't have a residence or whatever this category is. I'm talking generally. You change country, you have a little bit of money. And if you want to change from US to Canada, probably you have a little bit more money. Okay, so with that you can buy investment properties. That's my point. I believe that they will be more buyers from the US for the investment properties. That's my point.
Right.
What do you believe?
So out of interest, when you say that, do you think it will be like families, individuals that are purchasing, or are you thinking more of larger scale corporate style investors?
I would tend to say the largest scale
Yeah.
investors. Yeah, that's my feeling. Maybe it's not true, but we have the right to our opinion.
Yeah,
and I believe that will be a
we need to
trend.
do a whole podcast on that, because that is a whole topic that I think
See,
really bears some conversation.
yeah. I feel it like that. I feel it like that. Of course, I did some research, not like 100% research, and we can do a podcast, do the best research we can, and do a podcast on that.
Yeah, because it seems like there's a lot of the corporations in the States that have gone that way, ventured into it, maybe gotten out, looking at getting back into it. But I mean, Zillow is one of the largest companies, specifically real estate companies, in the States, that ventured in, got out of it after a bit, because it became a bit of an unmanageable monster in their pocket. But regardless, I do think things are going to go back that way again, where you've got, like this might be a bad example, hopefully it doesn't get me into trouble, but like a Procter and Gamble, what they do for food, for packaged goods, there are going to be corporations do with housing, and particularly into certain segments and certain markets. And I think particularly smaller centers like Winnipeg, Regina, Saskatoon, those sorts of areas are going to be really at risk of major corporations basically owning your city.
I know, I understand. Remember I talked to you about the new stock exchange, the Texas Stock Exchange? I don't know if I talked to you about it, but I believe so.
Don't remember the conversation.
There is a new stock exchange, Texas Stock Exchange. Like instead of NYSE will be TXSE, I believe.
Okay.
And they will specialize in RWA, real world assets, with a principle called tokenization. So let's say a hedge fund buys 1,000 homes. So they own those homes and they will tokenize, 10% of a home. I'm just giving an example. So a home which is $500,000, you'll have 10 tokens of it. Each will be worth 50,000, and you can trade. I believe that will be in the podcast.
Because so is that like a REIT, like a real estate investment?
Yeah, it can be a REIT. Yeah, it can be a REIT. It's true. Yes, it can real estate investment fund. Yeah, but the tokenization aspect is the difference, because you can buy now, like you can buy a stock, but that stock can be manipulated. You understand?
Right.
But when you have like a token and a serial number, you only have one serial number, one tokenization. A serial number, easy explanation, is not that simple and it's complex, but let's say it like this: it's a serial number, it's a unique number. You only have that. You can trade it, but you know what it is. You cannot manipulate with outstanding shares and floating shares and short squeeze and manipulation, and then the prices. You know what I'm saying? It will be it will be way more transparency.
Yeah.
And I believe that's one of the big trends that will accelerate what you are saying with the cities. Yeah.
Less manipulating, less squeezing.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
There's definitely potential for some interesting times ahead in just the way all of this is handled. And I think these big guys getting in and getting back out of it, it's not for the typical reasons that people might assume, but it's then the companies that come in second to those ones that learn from their mistakes, that end up changing it around to things like this that maybe works out a little bit differently.
Yeah. Well, Chris, it's been a pleasure again. Do you have something else to add?
Dragos, you always leave me dumbstruck. Nope, I think I'm good.
Man, you're the best. You're the best. You're the best partner in a podcast. I appreciate doing this with you.
I love being your co-pilot. Said I love being your co-pilot.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I would like to thank everyone for your attention and your support. And we will see each other next week. Ciao, everybody.
See you guys.